Welcome to the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. I'm your host, Krista Escamilla. Thank you so much for joining us for the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. We're so grateful that you are choosing us to listen to wherever you are at in your day. We have two amazing guests today. We have Debra Richmond. Debra is the Director of Road Safety Strategic Initiatives for PSP. Thank you for being with us, Debra.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Eric Lykins. He is the Odessa District Engineer for TxDot. Eric, thanks so much for being here today.
Super excited to be here today.
I am excited to hear about the partnership because I've been hearing about this for a while, the initiatives that have been rolling since PSP started 5 years ago. And now we get to actually see results. So Debra, let's talk a little bit about this great partnership and really the results we're seeing.
Sure. So as you know, road safety is one of our prime focus areas at the Permian Strategic Partnership, and that makes TxDot one of our top partners and one of our earliest partners over at PSP. We've been working with TxDot from the beginning to improve road safety on our Permian roads in West Texas and Southeast New Mexico. And thanks to the work of Eric and his team, we're really starting to see a difference in road safety out there. We're also starting to see a huge amount of reinvestment into our infrastructure on Permian Basin roads, which we feel like is more than deserved since so much of the revenue going back to both New Mexico and Texas comes from right here in the Permian Basin, and our citizens deserve to have as much investment reinvested here as possible, quite frankly, because we deserve to have world-class road facilities and the safest roads possible for the people who live and work here.
I'm glad you mentioned that, world-class, because if someone is not living here and maybe they're listening or watching from around the world, how would you explain the reason why we need safer roads here in West Texas?
Yeah, so much activity requires the road network here in the Permian Basin to drive energy production. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of trucks every day going to production sites and all of the associated industries and work that goes along with that. So we have a lot of wear and tear on our roads, many of which were designed for the farm system in the mid-1900s. Wow. And so frankly, we need to rebuild a lot of roads. We need to widen and expand a lot of existing roads. We're a rural area really experiencing urban challenges that you'd see in Dallas, Austin, or Houston, but they're here in Midland where we just don't have the resources and manpower to stay on top of the roadway needs like some of our cities here in Texas and in Albuquerque.
Right. Well, great. Let's dive into how PSP has helped TxDot and the differences that you have seen in this partnership. Eric, what have been the results so far in the past 5 years?
So the partnership with the PSP, so a little bit about me. So I've been out here for about 2.5 years in Odessa. So I came from the Brownwood district with TxDot. So I've got about to have my 27th year anniversary with TxDot.
Congratulations. Thank you
Yes.
for keeping our roads safe.
So super excited about that. But one of the first contacts I got when it was announced that I was coming out here was from Debra.
Okay.
And I had never met her. I don't know, had we met a little bit? Maybe
I don't think so.
But Debra is a former TxDot employee, but she reached out to me and wanted to have a meeting. And, you know, we struck up a good friendship. We have common goals with the traffic safety initiatives. And, you know, really that partnership with the PSP was something I didn't anticipate coming out here. I mean, I knew, and it was very well known around the state, the issues with traffic safety out here in the Odessa district. Right. So historically, going back to 2010, out of the 25 districts in Texas, for TxDot, Odessa is typically had the highest fatality rate, if not in the top 5.
It's heartbreaking.
And in fact, in 2022, we had the highest fatality rate of all the districts. 3.01 was our number per 100 million miles traveled. And we didn't even have a close second to us. But super excited to say, we just got the numbers in for 2023, and we now have the lowest, for 2023 calendar year, we had the lowest fatality rate as far as I can determine that the Odessa district has ever had, at least going back to 2010. So it came in at 1.98, which moved us to 15th place among the 25 districts. So kind of more in the middle of it. We were super excited, and it felt to us, to Debra, when we reached out to her, to the elected officials, that we are making a difference.
That's fantastic.
So,
what do you attribute to that? Is it programs that you've put in place? Is it focusing on special roads? What is it that has really made that difference?
So I've been asked that question a lot since,
Well, good. I'm glad I'm not the first.
since we did the press release. And you know what I think it's everything.
Okay.
It's so when we talk about traffic safety, at TxDot, we talk about the 4 E's of traffic safety. Mm-hmm. So that is engineering. So we got to just build more lanes, improve intersections, do things like that. Mm-hmm. It's education. So it's our traffic safety specialists. It's groups like the PSP, you know, click it or ticket, going to schools, getting the message out there, trying to change behavioral things. It's enforcement. Mm-hmm. Okay, so DPS, if people haven't noticed, you know, the last couple of years they've been doing numerous heavy sting operations out here. Mm-hmm. They write a lot of citations when they come out. Mm-hmm.
DPS is a huge partner to both of us.
DPS is a huge partner. We have a great relationship with Sergeant Blanco with DPS. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
And so very involved with him. And the last one is just engagement. Mm-hmm. And it's things like this where we can talk about what the issues are, you know, and how it's going to take all of us as residents in the Permian Basin to really in the street and to really get on top of this traffic safety.
I'm glad you said that, because there is something that everyone can do, and that's, you mentioned click it or ticket, seatbelts. You shared a startling statistic with me just a little bit ago. Let's talk about how many accidents or fatalities are happening and people aren't wearing their seatbelts.
So year in and year out across the state of Texas, unrestrained occupants is what we call them, is one of the highest percentages of our fatalities around the state. So for 2024 to date, we've had 123 fatalities in the Odessa district. So, and for the listeners out there, let me clarify: the Odessa district is 12 counties. So we basically go from Balmorhea in the 10-20 split to Stanton, to Ira Ann, and then from Andrews to Sanderson. Okay. So that when I'm talking Odessa district, that's the landscape that I'm talking about.
And is that Pecos and Orla as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we've had 123 to date, and approximately 45 of those weren't wearing their seatbelt. So it's a shocking statistic on something that, and 90% of Texans year in and year out wear their seatbelt.
Right.
Yeah, so the 10% of Texans that don't wear their seatbelt are about 40% of the fatalities statewide.
That is shocking. It really, this is something that each and every person can take personal responsibility and do and save their own life and the lives of others.
That's where the engagement to families and schools and changing the culture, where you're just driving around the corner real quick, you don't need to put on your seatbelt. No, you need to stop and put on your seatbelt.
Right. And I was wondering, because today's cars, as you know, will beep and make annoying sounds until you put it on, which hopefully you're not getting that far. Hopefully you're putting it on as soon as you get in the car. But how is this happening where people just aren't wearing their seatbelt to go to the store or go 50 miles?
And just ignore it or click it behind them, or you can even buy a device, which I'm not going to.
Yeah, we're not promoting that. That's right.
There's ways around it, and we see it from families driving around in the neighborhood to oil field workers to other industries. You know, people just don't want to slow down and secure themselves safely.
So there's the number one thing we can all do. Right?
Yes.
Is today make that choice, because of course the goal is 0 fatalities.
Yes, that's what we're all working towards. One day we feel like there will be 0 fatalities on Permian Basin roadways.
I look forward to that day. I really do, and we'll be celebrating. Let's talk about the priority roads, because I know there's some priority roads, and there are all those roads, and if you've lived in West Texas for years, you know there's certain roads where at any given time of the day, there's going to be an accident there. And it's scary to think of. It's like, well, if you're 5 o'clock on that road, please be careful. You know, as a parent, right, we tell our kids, please be careful on those roads, because the oil field traffic is really picking up. Let's talk about those priority roads that we're really starting to see the difference on.
So back in 2018, when PSP was getting started, one of the first points of contact they made was, of course, to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Yes. And he recognized right away the importance of road safety in the Permian Basin and instructed the PSP to work with TxDot Chairman Bruce Bugg, who is a good friend of ours, and they created what we call now the Permian Promise.
Okay.
And that is a strategic look at top roadway corridors in the Permian Basin on the Texas side that are needed for safety reasons, economic development reasons, and for just the resiliency of the system, and to make sure that the world's largest free, secure supply of energy remains that.
Yes.
And
Very
so
important.
people don't realize how much our roadway infrastructure is a part of that overall energy ecosystem that's so important to the state, the country, and quite frankly, the world now.
Right.
And so we worked with the governor's office and Chairman Bogg to develop a list of priority roads in Texas, which includes I-20, US 285, State Highway 302, State Highway 158, and a number of other rural corridors that we're working on either reconstructing or turning from 2-lane undivided to Super 2s, which is the passing lanes,
Yes.
or 4-lane divided highways.
Which I love, the 4-lane divided.
Yes, that is the safest option for those rural highway corridors.
And is that a goal to make more of those?
Yes.
Because every time I'm on a 2-lane, it's just, it can be scary. Someone's turning, they're stopping.
You can't control what other people are doing. You can be the safest driver out there, but you can't control other people's decisions.
Yes, you can't control if they're going to pass. And that to me is one of the scariest parts.
Absolutely.
Is you're putting your faith in
The unknown,
in the
right?
other driver that's on the other side. And if they're going to make that decision to, hey, let's just slow down and wait 5 more minutes behind this truck, or that maybe is going 10 miles slower than the speed limit, you're going to get there on time if you drive carefully. But if you don't, and you guys can speak to this more. What advice would you give on those 2 lanes? Because I know someone out there is listening. They've been in this position. They've wanted to pass. What advice do you give?
Number one, do all drivers anymore, and I question this, do you understand what the strike patterns mean on the roadway?
Good one. Yes.
So
let's talk about that.
If you've got a solid 4-inch yellow stripe on your side of the broken, or if then it says it's not a safe area for your direction to pass at this time.
Yes.
And those are based on sight distance, is what we call the engineering term. So look for those would be the first thing. The other thing I would just encourage people, and I've seen it out here, and I know y'all have too. It doesn't take long driving out here to see it. It's just have a little patience.
Right.
So we all know where I don't think I'm the only one that when I'm making a turn and I see the water hauler or the tanker in front of me making the same turn I'm making onto a 2-lane roadway, I know about 55 miles an hour is about as fast as he's going to get up to, because he can't stop.
Right.
With that liquid in there, he can't stop as fast as the other vehicles can. Are there times I get frustrated? Yes. But just take a deep breath. It's better to, I'll give an example. So this morning, coming in South Loop 338, I had a little car blow past me in a no passing zone on that blind curve. Only for me to be right behind them at the red light at the South Frontage Road. And I wanted to get out and go knock on the window and say, did you really accomplish anything by putting your life at risk and the other motorists?
Right.
So I think that's just a lot of patience is what I would encourage drivers.
Yeah. In addition to the lack of seatbelt wearing, speeding and lane departures are the other main causes
and
for
distracted.
crashes. Yeah.
And distracted driving, yes.
Yeah, so you're texting and you go head on.
Yes.
Right?
It takes 2 seconds. That's it. So, and I think that's such an important one. And I know that just because I had a 16-year-old just turned 16, that they learn this, right, when they're going through the driver's license training. But not all drivers that move to West Texas have maybe had that, just that reinforcement in the last 10, 15 years. And it's so important to be reminded of not texting and driving. How do we get more people to not do it, though?
Yeah, I think the accountability really starts in 2 places, one with families and then 2 in the workplace. A lot of commercial drivers now have in-vehicle monitoring systems, and you get in serious trouble if you're driving for a company and you don't follow the rules.
Okay.
And then this is another reason why DPS is so important to the work that we do. The amount of crashes and fatalities that are associated with CMVs, commercial motor vehicles, is disproportionately high out here compared to not only the rest of the state, the rest of the nation.
Wow. That's shocking again.
Right, and so we need more trained drivers with a CDL. PSP's actually invested over $3 million into CDL driving programs through Odessa College.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Right next door to where we are right now, and over in Odessa for the Truck Driving Training Academy, and we're taking a look at more CDL programs to fund and expand student output across the basin, because there is a major shortage of good CDL certified drivers here, and we need the best folks driving, and it's a great way to make a living.
Right.
It's a wonderful career path, and we really hope that we start moving the needle there.
And we can keep people here in the basin.
Exactly.
And that's the goal. Of course, we know because PSP focus on workforce, and we need to more people that can train here, stay here, and live here. I love West Texas. West Texas is a great place to be. Let's try to keep more people here than moving off to the metro. Let's circle back to the 4-lane roads that you were talking about. I know I can just tell a big difference in driving to Lubbock, what a 4-lane does. Do you have, and I love it. I mean, I think it is great. I feel like there's less accidents on the road. Do you have any spots right now that are those 2-lane? What did you call them?
Super twos.
Super twos. The Super twos. That's what I'm going to say now when I'm driving on a Super 2. Yes. When I'm on a Super 2, are there any Super 2s that I can go, oh, this is going to be a 4? Because I feel like they all should be at some point.
Oh, yes. So
great.
Super excited to say that we have secured full funding for 285 from Pecos to 302 to go to 4-lane divided on that one.
Wonderful.
So it's in what we call our 10-year window. And we've got partial funding for the stretch from 302 to Orla to go 4-lane divided. We're working on trying to secure funding to do 302. I mean, start there at No Trees, take it all the way to 285 is the ultimate goal. 349 south of Midland. Want to go 4-lane divided on it. 176 is another prime corridor from the Howard County line all the way to New Mexico.
Okay.
There's some funding for that.
There's some, and then 128, no, not 115 is another prime corridor. So we've got a lot of them that we're in what TxDot, what we call schematic development. So we've been having public meetings, so this is not a surprise to any residents that live on those corridors where you kind of start showing them here's the right-of-way footprint and what we're looking at trying to do and getting that community involvement. But we have a lot of those. There's 11 corridors that were identified in the Permian Promise that she's talking about.
Yeah. So when they started the Permian Promise, they did an initial $600 million of construction funding, but on top of that, they allocated another almost $100 million just in design work to get these corridors that Eric just mentioned, what we call on the shelf, shovel ready. Fantastic. So when funding becomes available, the projects are ready to go.
That is wonderful. I can't wait. You had something else to say, Eric?
Well, this is all on top of what I think is a very unique situation for Midland, Odessa, and the Permian Basin, in that we are officially approved for 3 new interstate highways to come to Midland, Odessa.
What? Where? How? Tell us.
So I-27 West is what it will be called. It'll be coming off roughly at Sterling City. Come over here toward Midland, hit I-20. Go over to 1788, Craddock Reliever, and then up to La Mesa.
Great.
So that's going to be I-27W. We have I-14 that's going to mirror part of that route, and then it's also identified to come up from McCamey, from I-10, follow that corridor 385 up into Odessa.
Great.
And I just drew a blank. What was the other one?
Finish out I-20 reconstruction.
I-20, we would have I-20 all obviously going. So
wonderful.
I guess I misstated that, so I apologize. It's not 3. So
Two and a half.
Two new ones, but we'll actually have 3 identified.
One improved.
Yes.
Which, no one's ever going to complain about improvement. At least I'm not. They may complain in the traffic that day.
Yeah, there's definitely growing pains. You'll see lots of barrels, lots of orange cones, but that means that your community is about to get safer.
Yes, and I think that's a great point. And when you see them working on the roads, when you see the orange cones and the barrels, just say, oh, this is great news, instead of going to the negative.
Bear with us.
I'm a look for the good kind of girl, Debra. I'm like, so if we could get everybody to kind of do that and think positive.
Is people to be patient, and when they're driving through a work zone, remember that the folks out there working on the roads have families to go home to tonight too.
Yes, so please be careful. And they're doing it for us so we can have a safer roadway.
Exactly.
And so on that, I recently had a very colorful comment forwarded to me. I get a lot of those.
Eric.
I get a lot.
I like how you said that. A colorful comment.
That's one thing about West Texans. They will let you know what they're thinking.
Yes.
And informed me that he drives, this motorist drives the I-20 corridor from basically Penwell to Stanton every day. And he says, y'all got all those projects going and no one's ever working on them. So the truth is they're working, but they're working at night.
Gotcha.
Because we told them we got to minimize traffic impacts during the day. we want y'all out there at night. So there is work happening. So if you're driving through some of these and you think there's never anybody working on these jobs, they might be out there during the night trying to do that work.
I'm glad you clarified that. Are there any other, misconceptions that you would say about TxDot that you want to clear up to go, hey, this is, you know what, this is what we're doing when we're doing this? Because I'm sure you get other colorful comments
We get a lot of suggestions.
through the years.
A lot of suggestions.
A lot of suggestions. No, I mean, not, I do fully understand that motorists out here have cone fatigue, and they feel like every road, that, hey, we see people, traffic, you see the memes.
Right.
Oh, hey, traffic's using that road over there, so let's go start construction on it. That's not the intent. And what I tell them, because Debra has been here from the start when the PSP was trying to get that funding. And I tell them, if cone fatigue is a problem for you, you probably need to go get another prescription or something to help you with that anxiety, because it's not going to get any better anytime soon. We're just getting started.
Right.
We're really making up for lost time.
Making
There
up
was
for
a lack
lost
of an
time.
investment, and
Yes.
now TxDot has really stepped up in a huge way.
And I tell them we're all gas and no brakes. I mean, we can't slow down. Their lives are dependent on it.
Right.
And so we, you hear, well, why can't y'all finish this project before you start another one? Well, they're all important.
And I think what you said, Deborah, earlier too, these roads were created for farming years ago. And so this, like you said, this was much needed upgrade through the years.
Yes.
And so again, just be thankful when you see the orange cones.
Please.
So, please. Let's talk about the Hero Truck program, because I'm so excited for this. Tell us what it is and how we can expect to see some changes on the roads in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. We're so excited to bring this to the Permian Basin early next year. The HERO program is a TxDOT program that stands for Highway Emergency Response Operator, and it is a system of roadside assistance trucks. So if you've driven around Austin, Dallas, Houston, you might have seen the white and blue HERO trucks with blue and amber lights and cones, and a guy dressed like Eric behind the wheel.
I love the high vis, by the way. Love the high vis.
Safety first.
Yeah, safety first always.
And there will be a dedicated number where folks can call if they get a flat tire, if they're in an accident. And so there's a first responder on scene that's not law enforcement. So we're not taking law enforcement away from their day job. We're not taking the fire department away from their day job and being able to respond to fires or crimes. Their main goal is to move incidents off the roadway as fast as possible. And we're able to bring this to the region thanks to PSP funding, along with Midland County funding. Thank you, Midland County, and
Yes, thank
TxDOT
you.
funding. It's going to be a pilot for 2 years, and we're hopeful that local
Yeah.
stakeholders and the private sector want to keep it going after that time period.
And how will that work, Eric? Like when they're out there, say you do get a flat tire, because we've all seen people, and as you're driving by, you're just praying that they can get that tire fixed fast and get off the road, because it's you're scared for their lives, right? How will that work? If they're driving by, they help them, they jump into action. What does that look like?
So the main corridors, that's a great question. So the main corridors we're looking at doing this on right now is I-20 from the east side of Midland to the west side of Odessa, more or less, that 45-ish mile stretch. Actually, I think we might be actually extending it to Stanton, now that I think about it, because of just exits and where we can
Yes.
turn around. So that corridor will be divided up into routes, roughly 10-mile routes. Okay. So you'll have a HERO truck during the hours of operation that are continually driving their route.
Oh, good.
And so that's why I said we had to, we're trying to figure out where the exits are, where they can turn around and circle back. So that's the first way. They'll just could be driving along and come up on that stranded motorist and pull over and help them. The other way is the company that gets the contract will have dispatchers that are monitoring our TxDOT traffic cameras. And so if they see a crash, if they, then that dispatcher can radio to the HERO truck in that area and tell them, hey, you've got a stranded motorist, we've got a crash at this location, and they can respond to that location. So we're also looking at doing it on 191 between Midland and Odessa. That one, there's still a lot of things. We're just right now getting it advertised out to open bids. Still some unknowns we're working through, but it will mainly be probably a daytime operation on 191 It just doesn't
That'd
have
be
quite
good.
the traffic, at 1 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
like I-20 does.
But it will be 24/7 monitoring, is that correct? But certain roads not?
Certain roads,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
That's
And it's
fantastic.
mainly going to be
Yeah.
those 2 corridors that we're
Yeah.
focusing on.
And those corridors were chosen because they have the highest crash rates
Okay.
in the TxDot Odessa district.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we look forward to that. And when does that begin?
It's going to begin early 2025. We don't know the exact date yet, but we'll be making a big splash and getting the word out when it's time to go.
Yay, we look forward to it. That'll be fantastic.
We might have to come back. And
Come
just do a
back
regular episode.
anytime,
Yeah.
anytime.
And I'll tell you, the motorists and the citizens can thank Debra and the PSP, because she has really, since the first meeting in our reference 2.5 years ago, she brought this up, this vision that the PSP had. And she never I have a million things going, and I got Debra, hero program, we're going to get a hero program, we're going to get a hero.
You never let the foot off the brake, pun intended.
You gotta get a squeaky wheel sometimes.
But,
That's great.
But it was a great thing. And so as far as TxDot, we're super appreciative of the PSP pushing that. So it's the first non-metro in the state to do it too. It's another first that we at TxDot Odessa are
bringing
doing.
big city resources to the Permian
I love it.
is what we need to do, and it really will help supplement a lot of the other efforts that are going on. I know Odessa, Midland, Ector County, Midland County, and the entire region of the Permian Basin Regional Planning Commission are engaged in the federal Safe Streets for America program and really working hard to develop community safety action plans that will allow them to compete for more federal grant funding for safety projects and that sort of thing. And so showing local skin in the game, like the investments that our locals are making in the HERO program, will really help our region be more competitive at the federal level.
I love that. I love that we have the support all the way up.
Yeah, we have to leverage every resource on the table.
Fantastic. Are there any other success stories that you want to, we'll say brag about, brag about right now that you are really proud of, that in the connection, the relationship between PSP and TxDot, where you've really seen those big improvements?
I mean, the biggest one, again, is the fatality rate coming down. And we're, I'm anxious for the 24 numbers, but it'll basically be this time next year. We don't get our traffic count data until the fall of the next calendar year. We are trending down. I think we're down about 10 this time from where we were this time last year. But again, just the overall communication. We've got several other safety improvement projects that we're going to be rolling out. We presented several of those already to the PSP Road Committee, and one is what we call an RCUT, restricted left turn movement intersection. So,
Ooh, talk about that. That sounds like something we need to
So-
know about.
That's the lingo you need to know.
Yes, that is more lingo I need to know.
so that is one. There's several around the state. There's some down off 1604 in San Antonio. So if people are familiar with that, it's a high volume roadway. That's the first question you always get when you start talking about doing innovative intersections or things like that. But the RCUT design, typically you see it on a 4-lane divided. And so it's traffic on the minor road coming into the 4-lane divided. You cannot go straight across.
Okay.
You have to make a right turn.
So you put one of those little deals in the middle?
Yeah.
So, okay. What are those deals called? Because I know it's not called a little dealio.
Medians.
Median, yes, thank you.
Dealio.
Yeah, the little dealio in the middle. So you would put a median there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that traffic approaching has to make a right turn.
Okay.
They'll travel up that roadway for a couple of thousand feet. It'll give them room to merge over to the inside. Then there's basically a U-turn lane
Okay.
where they can U-turn, come back around, merge back to the right lane if they're wanting to keep going north-south, let's say, on that minor roadway. And then they
Yeah,
can.
so you don't
they
wait for a
can-
gap, hold your breath, and go left.
Okay.
So
I love that.
What
this
it
will
al-
save lives. Again,
It
this will
will.
save lives.
Those crossovers and 302 is the prime candidate. When people pull across, the fatals we see are T-bones, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you get T-boned at 75, 80 miles an hour, the chance of surviving is not great. So the RCUT design tries to eliminate that conflict point for the T-bone crash. It's not saying maybe you might have some side swipes, but
Right.
typically a side swipe, everybody walks away from it. It's just some damage. So we I guess last summer, rolled that out, kind of did a presentation for the PSP because we want to work with the industry, and we need industry's buy-in to say that, we feel like, y'all are moving in the right direction. So enjoyed that, that partnership. Some people might say, well, Eric, why don't you build an overpass? Why do an R-cut?
Okay.
So
good question.
How much does an overpass cost, Eric?
So a typical overpass now on a 4-lane divided like that is going to be in excess of $50 million.
Woo! 50? Like 50, not
million.
15. That's a lot of money. Wow.
So we can
I had no idea.
We can do these R-cuts for a fraction of that. I mean, $5 million.
Okay, much better.
So it's
with the same result or close to.
Trying to improve safety.
Safety.
And because we have so many needs, and again we've been talking about that a lot. So and we've got a fixed amount of money that we can work with here in Odessa for TxDot spending. So we're trying to use every tool we can to improve the safety.
Yeah. And then I don't think people realize how closely associated TxDot is with a lot of other regional priorities that are going on. For example, I know you've had Russell Myers from the Beacon Alliance on recently, and that facility, the behavioral health facility, and the rest of the Beacon development is right by a big intersection. And so TxDot's redoing the intersection at 1788 and 191 to make that area more resilient and more accessible for folks coming for medical treatment in the future.
Yes.
That one's not a fan favorite right now.
That's okay.
It's a significant backup.
It's just a little tough at 5 p.m. Other than that, you're okay. But again, remember to smile and say thank you when you see those orange cones.
And that was one talking about winds. So we had already bid out the project to reconstruct that intersection. And Debra calls me and lets me in on this new behavioral health hospital that's coming. And, that advance notice, meeting with the PSP, having those discussions kind of what their concerns were, we were able to kind of rework our plan set to make it work better for this behavioral health. So it's adding some right turn. If you're northbound 1788, you're going to have a decel right turn lane on the same side as the seed building. So some of those changes were initiated just due to that partnership with the PSP and them letting us know, hey, here's what's coming.
That's great. And just another way that PSP is just working on all of the major industries here in West Texas.
All related.
They're all intertwined, and from everything that PSP believes in, from roads to education to healthcare. I love it when you see them come together because
TxDot literally touches all of it. If you want to get there, you're going to need TxDot to get there.
That's right. There's nothing better than good collaborations, and this is.
And we've seen from our member companies, TxDot doesn't know what they don't know. So I would just encourage the public, if you're seeing something or if you feel like something's dangerous, don't assume that it's on the radar. Give Eric's team a call, and they'll do whatever they can to help you out.
And this one just came to me when you said that, but it was how I knew that we were starting to make a difference. I felt like so. Anytime we have a stop sign knocked down. If we know about it, it's an immediate action for us. Okay, we try to get our sign crew out there to at least get a temporary up.
Right.
So Debra sent a guy to me, and I believe, and I hope he was with Pioneer, and he just shot me a quick email and said, "Hey, one of my field guys reported that there's a stop sign down, and it was over here south of Stanton off of 137." He just went through that intersection. That stop sign's down. I took that information, sent it to Stanton Maintenance. They were able to get out there and get a stop sign out. Like she said, if we can't fix what we don't know about, and we try to get out, and our sign guys are out driving roads and stuff. But I'm like, okay, now that when you're getting industry that engaged, that they'll let us know about that things, we can accomplish some really good things because y'all got guys. I mean, with your membership, the PSP's membership. I mean,
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, yes. And, it's just trying to get that message.
About like 80% of production in the basin now, I think, is from PSP member companies.
Let somebody know so they can let us know, and then we'll address it.
I love that. And that's what's great about today is really for everyone to see just, how that partnership works and what they can do.
Exactly.
Another thing that we can do is let's talk about safety as we head into the holidays. That you were mentioning the top leading cause of crashes. Let's kind of run those down one more time just in case, just in case you were busy when you heard it. But I really want to focus on those because that is one thing we can do over the holidays is make sure that no one loses a loved one and focus on safety.
So I would say heading into the holidays, the most important things you can do are buckle up. Make sure everyone in your car is buckled up, whether you're driving or not. Drive sober. Don't speed, and don't drive distracted. Don't look at your phone. It's that simple.
It really is. It is that
Very
simple.
well said.
Anything to add, Eric?
No,
That was perfect.
She nailed it.
Is there anything coming into today's podcast that you really wanted to have our listeners learn about, whether it's PSP, TxDot, or the connection between the two?
I think we covered it all. I just, would like to say thank you to everyone for how supportive they've been of PSP and our efforts. And it's so fun to watch our work grow and touch more lives. And we just hope that all of our partnerships, including the one with TxDot, continues to make a difference.
Yeah, I would agree with what Debra said. Good, well said. I just say ditto. But yeah, it's really a productive partnership. And then, like I said, when you bring in the other, the Permian Road Safety Coalition and what they can bring to the table.
Outstanding organization.
DPS, and then meeting with these county judges, elected county commissioners. It's just everyone working together because we all, like I said, we all want the same thing.
And same on the New Mexico side.
Right.
There's no state line in the Permian Basin.
Right.
So we enjoy the same partnership with New Mexico Department of Transportation and DPS on that side. And, a lot of our counties actually have mutual aid agreements. And so the collaboration across state lines is really commendable, and we hope that it continues to grow and make even more of a difference.
We are all one big happy family here in
That's
West
right.
Texas and New Mexico. So I love that. Well, thank you both for what you do. Thank you for making our roads safer. I cannot wait to get that number down to 0. I look forward to that day. And in the meantime, one less fatality is a win in my book. And
it's invaluable.
So it really is. And congratulations on those numbers getting lower and all the changes and differences that you're making with the work that you do. So thank you both for being
Thank
here
you for
today and
having us.
sharing. I'm very excited to hear about this. And of course, share this podcast with someone that you love here in the Permian Basin. We need to get this information out to everyone so that they can know what to do if they see a stop sign down, so that they know what they can do to do their part in keeping those crashes down, because that is the goal of not just PSP, but all of us that are in West Texas. Remember, the future lies in the Permian, and we are all in this together. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for listening, and make it a great day. And we'll see you next time on the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. Make it a good one. Thank you for listening to the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. For more information, go to permianpartnership.org.